Discovered strange emails between my girlfriend and a mystery man, while a white truck parked outside my house raises suspicions of secrets. I am currently out of town visiting family for a week. My grandma, who lives with my parents, is very ill, and I wanted to say goodbye. My girlfriend, who I have been with for 7 years, recently had surgery and didn't feel comfortable traveling the 5-hour car ride with me. Very understandable, because she is still in quite a bit of pain. I've been here about 3 days now, and will be spending another 2 here at my parents'. My girlfriend and I have always had a strong relationship. We get along very well. We manage to communicate about almost everything. We rarely fight. In fact, when we do, it is usually about housework. Which admittedly is usually my fault, as I leave too much of it on her. This will be relevant in a bit. We had a fight about the housework right before I left to visit my grandmother. Since she had surgery, she hasn't been about to keep up with the cleaning and laundry much, and the house has gotten a bit out of hand. She is kinda a neat freak, where I'm okay with clutter, and even by my standards, the house was getting pretty messy. I promised I would clean up, and I did, but she kept insisting more needed to be done. I thought it was clean, but it wasn't up to her standards. Now that I've left, I can see I was a bit in the wrong, and I feel bad, and I've told her so via text. She seems to forgive me. She didn't mean to snap at me over it. She's in pain and is exhausted and just wants more help around the house. I only see clutter when I clean. But I don't think about things like vacuuming and dusting. I thought we had cleared the air and were okay. But she has been very distant over the days I have been here. Very little communication. And now, I got a text from my best friend telling me he saw her walking about a hardware store with some guy. He described him as tall, with dark black, long hair, and a full beard. This does not fit the description of any of her friends. She was leaning against his arm while they walked around the store. He saw them leave together and walk to the chain restaurant across the street. My girlfriend has never given me the impression she would cheat, ever. We've always told each other when we had cruises on people and been open when other people expressed feelings to us. And with her leaning on the guy, I'm worried, but at the same time, my girlfriend tends to lean on all of her friends she feels comfortable with when there is a lot of walking involved. She had a heart condition, now more exacerbated by her recent surgery, and she does faint on occasion. She always holds my arm when we walk around stores, and I've seen her do the same with her girlfriends. So it may be that she was having a dizzy spell and leaned onto this guy for support. Whoever he is. I've expressed that I'm thinking of leaving here today and coming home early, and after all day of not talking to me, she responded, "No. Visit with your family. You never see them. Spend all the time with grandma that you can. She doesn't have long left, and I'm sure spending her last days with you will be really comforting for her. It's flattering that you're homesick though and you miss me. I miss you too." I didn't want to sound accusatory, so I sent something along the lines of, "Hey. Dave said he saw you at hardware store today and meant to say hi, but didn't have the time." She responded, "I wasn't at hardware store today, just grocery store." Admittedly, I was a bit suspicious. My girlfriend doesn't really do social media. She is a high school teacher, and all she has is a Facebook. She keeps it for professional purposes only and is basically nothing on there, so I decided to check her email. I know, I feel awful, but I'm starting to get worried. She had a few from some generic Gmail around that was basically something like, Sugarlandman 1234. There was no Google Plus info on the page. I also Googled the Gmail and could find no other accounts associated with it. The back and forth, Sugarlandman 1234, sorry about the email. Shattered my phone on a job and not gonna replace it until my contract expires. Girlfriend, that's okay. I totally understand. We still on for Saturday? Sugarlandman 1234, yay. I'm free. Is the boyfriend gone already? Girlfriend, yep. He left the other day. Shouldn't be back until like Wednesday. Sugarlandman 1234, cool. Sounds good then. Girlfriend, do you want to get dinner or pizza? On me, of course. We will need some fuel, or I imagine we will be exhausted. Sugarlandman 1234, that nice of you. Don't know yet. Well, decide that day? I've got my dad's phone now. He don't really ever use it, so I'll text you from there. He'll let you know it's me. That was the entirety of it really. Now I'm even more worried. Should I come home early? Confront her over the phone? Leave it alone until I get home when I was going to anyway? Edit, some info that has come up in comments below. She just had a hysterectomy. She is only recently home from the hospital and doesn't have much energy. We haven't had sex since the surgery. She says she can't. I honestly believe her because I've changed the bandaging on her stitches and it looks painful. Other than slowly walking around, she can't do too much. My best friend and his girlfriend, now fiancé, have all been mutual friends together for several years and all go out together frequently. He knows for sure what he looks like and that it was her. I'm sure this is not relevant at all, but a guy can hope. My birthday is in 10 days. Edit 2, my friend drove by my house. There is a white truck in the driveway. But the plates on it are from a neighboring state. It's getting kinda late there. Edit 3, friend drove by again. Truck is still there. Truck is from another state, but girlfriend has family in that state. My girlfriend is not really close with her family at all. We really only see them on holidays. However, My girlfriend's family owns a construction company. But their company lays concrete. I don't think they have any carpenters or anything like that. I could be wrong though. I want to give her the benefit of the doubt because she had never done anything to make me mistrust her in the past. You guys have been such a comfort to keep me level-headed and I thank you. A lot of you think there is a surprise for my birthday, and I hope that is it. And many of you think she is cheating, which I hope isn't the case. I don't want to leave early and risk missing out on time with my grandma. Some of you have suggested I have my friend check up on her. But that worries me. Won't I seem paranoid if nothing is going on? Edit 4. On current communication with my girlfriend, I have called her 3 times, and texted her a ton. I haven't been accusatory, just asked what she was doing and if she had any friends over. Basically, we live in a dead zone cell phone coverage wise. We live in a town surrounded by cornfields for miles and miles. We get spotty reception at best. When I last spoke to her she said she was doing laundry and working on a quilt she is making for my mom. Both the laundry and her sewing room are in the basement. We get no service in the basement. A little while ago I got a picture message of our cat laying all over her quilting supplies, and one saying she missed me. It's possible she hasn't gotten my texts because she has very possibly been in her sewing room all day. She can spend hours there working on projects and watching Netflix. She always calls me right before she falls asleep when we are apart though, so I'm waiting for her to call me before bed now. Final edit, still no call from her, but if she is in the basement quilting and watching Netflix, that is no surprise. She can go for hours. No idea if the truck is still there or not. My friend drove by again around 9 p.m. and it was still there. I'm not going to make him go out again. I'm thinking I will just come home when I was supposed to. Update 1. My girlfriend called me at 1 a.m. and apologized profusely, saying she didn't realize what time it had gotten to because she was busy. She normally calls me around 11:30 or so. I decided then and there that I was going to save the text from Dave, a screenshot of the email, and confront her when I got home. I weighed my options and decided it was better to be cheated on and let it go on a few extra days and spend time with my family, than to rush home or accuse her over the phone and find out she was planning something for my birthday. I think that would ruin her trust in me forever. Nothing seemed odd when she called. She asked after my family, sent me a few progress pictures of the quilt she was making for my mom, told me she loved me and that she would call me in the morning. Monday morning my grandma took a turn for the worse and my brother, mother, and father all gathered at the hospice to spend the final hours with her. Somewhere in the very wee hours of Tuesday morning she passed away from lung cancer. Seriously people, put down your cigarettes. We were really her only remaining family. My father was an only child, and she had no living siblings, and she had moved in with my parents a while ago and hasn't kept in touch with anyone. In lieu of planning a traditional funeral, we just decided to proceed with having her buried next to her husband's plot, something she had already pre-planned, paid for, and requested in her will, and spent Tuesday gathered around in the living room telling stories about her and looking through her shoeboxes full of photographs to create an updated photo album. It was nice, actually. My girlfriend kept in constant contact with me through this whole thing and talked to my parents as well. They love her. During that time I decided to let everything fall out of my mind other than my family. It was pretty evenly split on what people believed about my girlfriend, but what felt right in my gut was that she was planning something for me. Many of you said I was denying any possibility she was cheating and had my head in the sand. That she was blowing this guy, fucking him in my bed, and that she was on some sort of penis-related carnival ride? Some said I trusted her too much and that it would come back to bite me. And many of you said I didn't trust her enough. That I was letting what my friends saw cloud my judgment. There is some truth in that. Many of you wondered if Dave hated my girlfriend or wanted to get with her. I promise you that is not the case at all. Dave has been cheated on before and just wanted to look out for me. If I had asked him to confront her he would have done it in a heartbeat, but even he thought something was up knowing us for as long as he has. I asked him to leave it and that I would deal with everything when I got home. If there really was nothing going on, I didn't want to risk crushing her spirit when she was just trying to do something nice for me. I let my girlfriend know I would be home sometime Wednesday. But I was going to have breakfast with my family first. She requested I call her when I get in the state. This was my intention, but I was getting so homesick, and I just really needed to see my girlfriend, so I hit the road sometime around 5 a.m. With no rest stops and minimal traffic, I made pretty great time and got home at 10:30 or so. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw the white truck parked there already. I swallowed the lump in my throat and walked up to the front door. I kept repeating in my head that I trusted her and that there was nothing going on. As I walked in the front door, which enters into the living room, I locked eyes with the guy. He was sitting cross-legged on the floor in sweatpants and a tank top eating cereal off my coffee table. He looked younger than I thought he would be from Dave's description. But he had a full beard and long black hair in a ponytail. He nodded and said, "Hey dude. Welcome back." Which felt odd. I just stood there, staring at him, wading through the surrealness of the situation looking for the right words. My girlfriend then came down the hallway, smiled, and hugged me. "Hey, I'm so sorry about Grandma. Any chance you remember my cousin Max? I know it's been a while." I stared at him and I swear I had never seen this person in my life. I just had this sinking feeling and only replied, "I don't think we have met." "Aunt Ellen's son." The one that lives in, other state. And suddenly it dawned on me. Her Aunt Ellen's husband, Uncle Joe, was her second husband. She married young but split up with this kid's father pretty early. Max lives with his dad in, other state, and Max's dad is 100% Italian. Which explains the hair. All I could say was, whoa man. You've grown up. He just laughed and said yeah. I've changed a bit. The last time I saw this kid he was a chubby, neon green haired, acne covered teenager in a tap-out t-shirt. He really came out of puberty well. I think I last saw him 4 or 5 years ago on Christmas. She asked me if we could talk. So I followed her into our bedroom. She basically said he was moving back in with Aunt Ellen and getting a job as a grunt with her family construction company part-time. He wants to go to a local college around us and my girlfriend promised to help him fill out his FAFSA, polish his entrance letter, and study for his placement tests in exchange for some work. He went to an alternative trade school for carpentry his last 2 years of high school and my girlfriend's dad says he did pretty well. She said she had something planned for my man cave but they hit a few hang-ups and it's taking longer than expected. She brought our Xbox upstairs into the living room and has made me swear I will not enter the basement for any reason until my birthday. I debated pretending I wasn't worried at all. But I like that we are always honest with each other. I told her Dave saw her out with her cousin and had me a bit worried about him. She just laughed and said, I didn't realize he saw us together. I thought you meant he just saw me. She said they had walked basically around opposite ends of the store shopping separately. They only met up to check out. She asked why I didn't just ask her who it was. She said could have told me it was Max and still been able to keep the exchange of work under wraps and just told me about the college thing. I basically told her I didn't want to make her feel like I was accusing her of anything, which I think she appreciated. Max is going to be staying here a few more days longer than she planned, which I wish she would have told me about. But after this, that seems like nothing at all. I think she is a bit upset that I could even think for a moment she would cheat on me. But she said she was glad I didn't come flying home early kicking doors in or anything, so I think we are good. Just in case, I'm gonna kiss her ass for a while. Edit 1. Maybe I should clarify that Max is not moving in with Iz. He is moving back in with his mom. He was already supposed to be home with her by the time I came home. But they hit some snags with whatever he is working on. He is staying a few more days to finish up then going home to his mother's. Edit 2. For those asking why my girlfriend would not tell me why Max was over, she didn't know Dave saw her with him. She just thought he saw her in the paint department by herself. I think she wanted to not arouse any suspicion at all in me. He was supposed to be done before I even got home. I remember her mentioning that he was in carpentry school. I didn't know it was part of a 2-year high school thing, and for some reason I was picturing him as a lot older than he was. I think I had him confused with his older stepbrother. I've had my brother over when she was visiting her best friend out of state before and it was a non-issue. We have a pretty open door policy when it comes to close friends and family, so having him over is a total non-issue for me. I see how it would be an issue for some people. But it's not in our relationship. I think she just wanted me to spend time with my family and not focus on what was going on at home in the slightest. She was going to tell me about the FAFSA/college thing if I asked, but since I didn't, she just decided to keep it under wraps. Update 2. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update. First off, I want to thank everyone for the kind words about my grandmother. The funeral was small but beautiful, and my girlfriend was extremely supportive through everything. So, about my birthday. Max finished up what he was working on the day before and headed back to his mom's place. My girlfriend was practically bouncing with excitement that morning, leading me downstairs with my eyes closed. When I opened them, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They had completely transformed my basement man cave. There was new custom shelving for my game collection, an actual bar with a mini fridge, something I'd been talking about wanting for ages, and the centerpiece, a handmade gaming table with built-in cup holders, dice trays, and a recessed area for board games. Apparently, Max had been working on the furniture while my girlfriend handled the painting and decorating. The emails about needing fuel and being exhausted suddenly made complete sense. My girlfriend explained that she'd been planning this for months. She'd reached out to Max because he needed the money and had the carpentry skills to pull it off. The truck belonged to my girlfriend's uncle, who had lent it to Max for the duration of the project. I felt like such an idiot for doubting her. That night, we had a small party with Dave and his fiancée. When Dave saw what Max had built, he pulled me aside and apologized profusely for causing me to worry. He admitted he only saw them briefly at the hardware store and jumped to conclusions. My girlfriend was leaning on him because she was still recovering from her surgery and had been on her feet too long looking at wood stains. Things were going great until about 3 days ago. I was grabbing laundry from the hamper when I noticed a receipt that had fallen out of my girlfriend's pocket. It was from a jewelry store dated a few days before my birthday. Now, she didn't give me any jewelry for my birthday, so I was confused. I debated asking her about it, especially after our last misunderstanding, but decided honesty was the best approach. When I showed her the receipt, she got really quiet. Then she started crying. I immediately felt terrible, thinking I'd ruined another surprise, but then she took my hand and led me to her sewing room. From the back of her fabric drawer, she pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple but beautiful silver band. She explained that she'd been thinking about proposing to me on my birthday, But after the whole misunderstanding with Max and seeing how quickly I'd jumped to conclusions, she got cold feet. "I've been with you for 7 years," she said. "I know everything about you, including the fact that you sometimes let your imagination run wild. But I also know you always come back to trusting me in the end, and that's why I love you." She didn't formally propose right then, said she wants to do it properly when the moment feels right. But knowing the ring is there, and that we're both on the same page about our future, feels incredible. I've been spending the past few days thinking about how easily I let doubt creep in, despite 7 years of trust and love. Dave feels terrible about the whole thing, but I told him it wasn't his fault. He was just looking out for me. The truth is, I shouldn't have needed hard evidence or reassurance to trust my girlfriend. Now I'm planning my own surprise. I found a necklace online that matches the band she bought, and I'm working with her best friend to plan a weekend getaway where I can give it to her. I figure, when she's ready to properly propose, I'll have something to give her in return. I guess the moral of the story is, when you have 7 good years with someone, don't let a few suspicious days override all that history. Communication really is everything in a relationship. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update. I'm happy to report that we've both followed through on our promises. 3 months ago, I took my girlfriend on that weekend getaway I've been planning. With her best friend's help, I found this small cabin by a lake about 2 hours from our place. It was perfect, secluded enough to be romantic but with all the modern amenities. My girlfriend isn't exactly the roughing it type. I told her it was just a stress-relieving weekend, especially since she'd been working overtime with the new school year starting. When we arrived, I had arranged for the cabin to be set up with her favorite flowers and wine. We spent the first day hiking and exploring the area, and that evening, after dinner on the deck overlooking the water, I gave her the necklace I'd bought to match the ring she had for me. I still remember the look on her face, confusion, then realization, then this incredible smile. "How did you?" she started to ask. I told her I knew she was planning to propose when she felt the time was right, but I wanted her to know I was ready whenever she was. The necklace was my promise to say yes. She started crying and laughing at the same time, which made me start crying and laughing too. We must have looked ridiculous, both of us a mess on that deck. She didn't propose that night, said she still wanted to do it her way when the moment felt perfect, but something shifted between us. There was this new certainty, a peaceful kind of knowledge that we were moving forward together. 2 weeks ago, it finally happened. Max, yes, the same cousin who built my man cave, was in town again to take some placement tests for college. We invited him over for dinner to celebrate, along with Dave and his now wife. They had a small ceremony last month. After dinner, my girlfriend stood up to get dessert and asked me to help her in the kitchen. When I walked in, she was holding a small box. Without any fanfare or grand speech, she simply said, "I've loved you for 7 years. I want to love you for 70 more. Will you marry me?" It was perfect because it was so straightforward, honest, no frills needed. I said yes immediately. When we walked back into the dining room wearing our matching bands, Dave actually teared up, which was pretty hilarious given how stoic he usually is. We've decided on a longer engagement, probably about 1.5 years. Neither of us wants anything elaborate, but we do want time to save up for a house. The apartment we've been renting is great, but with both of us approaching 30, we're thinking about putting down more permanent roots. My girlfriend, my fiancée, still getting used to that, recently got promoted to department head at her school, which comes with a decent pay bump. I've been doing well at work too, and with our combined savings, a down payment on a modest house should be within reach by next spring. The funniest part of all this? Max has become a regular fixture in our lives. He started college this semester and stops by at least once a week for dinner. He and Dave have even become friends, bonding over some online game they both play. It's surreal sometimes, watching them hang out and remembering how this all started, with me convinced Max was the other man. My fiancée still teases me about it occasionally. "See any suspicious trucks in the driveway lately?" She'll ask with a smirk when I get home from work. But there's no malice in it, just the comfortable ribbing of someone who knows you well enough to laugh at your quirks. I've learned a lot these past months, about trust, about communication, but mostly about how easily fear can blind us to what's right in front of us. 7 years of love and honesty should have been enough for me to never doubt her, but I'm human. The important thing is that when faced with suspicion, I chose to wait and trust rather than accuse and destroy. We've already decided that when we have kids someday, we're going to tell them this story. Not the part where their dad was an insecure mess who thought their mom was cheating, but the part where their parents loved each other enough to overcome misunderstandings and build something lasting together. Update 4. It's been almost 2 years since my last update, and wow, has life changed. We've been married for just over 6 months now, and I still catch myself staring at the ring on my finger sometimes, amazed at how far we've come. The wedding was exactly what we wanted, small, intimate, and drama-free. We rented this beautiful old barn that had been converted into an event space about an hour outside the city. Just close friends and family, good food, and dancing until my feet hurt. Dave was my best man, of course, and Max, who's now in his second year of college and doing great, built us this incredible arch for the ceremony. He's really refined his carpentry skills. We've actually commissioned a few pieces from him for our new house. Yes, we bought a house. About 8 months ago, We found this little 1950s ranch-style home that needed some love but had great bones. It's nothing fancy, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a decent yard, but it's ours. My wife, still not used to saying that, immediately started planning renovations. The first weekend after closing, we had Dave, his wife, Max, and a few other friends over for a demolition party where we tore out the old kitchen cabinets and some awful carpet. Max has been invaluable throughout the renovation process, either doing work himself or connecting us with other students from his program who need side jobs. The house is slowly becoming our home. We've got the kitchen done, the master bedroom and bathroom finished, and we're working on the yard now. The 3rd bedroom is currently my office, but we've been talking about its future potential for other uses. Which brings me to our biggest news: we're expecting. She's just over 3 months along now. We weren't necessarily trying yet, but we weren't exactly being careful either. I was folding laundry when she came into the bedroom with this look on her face that I couldn't quite read. She handed me a small box, and inside was a tiny pair of baby shoes. I'm not ashamed to admit I completely broke down. After everything she went through with her hysterectomy, we thought biological children weren't in the cards for us. Turns out, she didn't have a complete hysterectomy back then. The doctors were able to remove just what was necessary and leave one ovary intact. Her gynecologist had told her pregnancy was possible but might be difficult. We'd talked about adoption down the road but hadn't made any concrete plans yet. So this was unexpected, to say the least. The first trimester was rough. Between morning sickness and her worrying about every little twinge, we were both stressed. But her doctor says everything looks good now. We found out last week that it's a girl, which has sent both our mothers into a frenzy of baby clothes shopping. My dad, who's been pretty stoic through everything, got choked up when we told him. I think my grandmother's passing made him realize how important family continuity is. Dave and his wife are expecting too, just a month behind us. We joke about our kids being best friends from the cradle. It feels surreal sometimes, like we've fast-forwarded into this adult life that I always imagined but never quite believed would happen. I don't think much about that week when I thought she was cheating anymore. It seems so distant now, almost like it happened to different people, but sometimes when I'm lying in bed at night, my wife asleep beside me, I remember how close I came to throwing everything away based on a misunderstanding. It terrifies me still. Max still comes over for dinner at least once a month. He's already promised to build the crib for the baby. He's dating one of my wife's former students, who's now in college herself, don't worry, and watching him grow into this confident, talented man has been pretty remarkable. Hard to believe he was once the other man in my paranoid scenario. Last night, my wife was sitting on our new porch swing that Max built, her hand resting on her barely showing belly, looking out at the garden we've started. I brought her some tea and sat beside her, and she leaned her head against my shoulder. "Remember when you thought I was having an affair?" she asked, out of nowhere. I groaned. "Are you ever going to let me live that down?" She laughed. "Probably not, but you know what? It taught me something important." "What's that?" "That we can get through anything. Even when things look bad, even when we doubt each other or ourselves. We find our way back." I think about that a lot. How relationships aren't really about avoiding mistakes or misunderstandings. They're about how you navigate through them together. We've started a tradition of writing letters to our future daughter, not just about the pregnancy or our hopes for her, but about us, how we met, our struggles, our growth. I want her to know that love isn't always perfect or easy, but if it's real, it's always worth fighting for.